Chapter 20, A Home, a Commitment Without a Wedding. After we got engaged, life didn't change overnight, but the horizon shifted. Our conversations grew more grounded. Hopes felt tangible. I had moved out of Donna and Terry's place, and sometimes Lynn stayed with me, or I with her. We were growing closer in every way. We weren't sleeping together in the way most people would define it. Not yet. That line remained uncrossed, but something was different. One night as we lay side by side, I rested my hand lightly on her shirt and asked softly, "Do you want to take this off?" It wasn't a demand, only a signal that I was ready to take a step further. She slipped her shirt over her head, revealing what I had already touched under fabric. And in that moment it felt less like a leap than a gift. She was saying, "I know you're drawn to me, and I want to be close." I had already caressed her bare breasts beneath her shirt. The desire was there on both sides, but so was restraint. My longing to see her fully wrestled with the voices of my religious past. She still kept her shorts on, and I didn't push. That boundary held until we moved in together. Looking back, I realized how mutual it all was. Lynn seeking to learn what I was comfortable with, me trying to signal readiness without betraying the beliefs I was still untangling. There was nothing cheap or careless in her response. The barrier wasn't her eagerness. It was my hesitation to embrace fully that we were, in every way but paperwork, already husband and wife. Then came Diane's offer. Her mother asked if we wanted to rent a house together. The offer was more than generous. It was symbolic, a recognition that we were a unit, a family, and it came with an unspoken understanding. We would live as husband and wife in every way. Diane would never have made the offer if she thought we would be in separate rooms or holding back from intimacy. Accepting it forced me to confront what I had been taught and what I now knew in my heart. A marriage certificate wasn't the measure of our commitment. Once we accepted, the clarity came. We would wake under the same roof, in the same bed. We would share the same bathroom, change in front of each other without closing doors, brush our teeth at the same sink. Nothing would be hidden. We would eat together, pay bills together, argue and reconcile in the same space. We would build a life where no part of us was divided. And with that home came a new level of intimacy, not forced, not rushed, just natural. We undressed without hesitation, touched without shame, and slept skin to skin. Before, Lynn had kept her shirt on, aware that one thing might lead further than I was ready for, as a Christian still untangling from old ideas. But once we moved in together, those barriers dissolved. We made love, not as a concession to expectation, but as the natural continuation of what we already knew was sacred. There is something sacred about being completely wanted, not only emotionally, but physically. Healing happens in knowing someone longs for you, not out of duty, but from love, from the hunger to belong. I thought of newborns laid on a parent's chest, skin to skin, wordless, affirming, "You're here, you're safe, you're mine." That's what it felt like. I knew then I had made peace, not gradually, decisively. I didn't see it as living in sin. I saw it as sacred. Marriage, I believed, was meant to be love, fidelity, care. By that measure, we were already married. The law had denied us. The church would deny us too, but the covenant already existed. When we approached a priest hoping for a religious ceremony, he refused. Without a marriage license, he said he couldn't perform the sacrament. He knew the cost, that a legal wedding could strip Lynn of her health insurance and risk her life. Still, He said no. At the time I was confused, more than anything. Later, looking back, I realized how deeply it struck me. As a Catholic, I had been taught that I, too, deserved the sacraments, that holy matrimony was not just a ritual, but a channel of grace, a recognition that love itself is sacred. Yet here was the Church elevating a secular document above fidelity and love. It was just one priest who said no, but it reflected poorly on the Church I had trusted. How could a faith that preached compassion not make room for a situation like Lynn's? In those early weeks, I even asked my parents for advice. Diane had just offered us a house, and I wanted to reconcile what that meant. We couldn't marry legally without endangering Lynn's health insurance, and I wasn't sure how to frame that in the eyes of my faith. My parents reminded me of the Christmas story Joseph told to take Mary into his home, even before a wedding was mentioned. That story gave me language. With their advice, I felt affirmed. Lynn and I were already husband and wife in God's eyes. So when Lynn suggested months later, before Christmas, it's their home, maybe we should sleep in separate beds, it disoriented me. She meant no harm, only respect, but it felt like the ground shifting beneath me. Hadn't I already worked this out with my parents? Why would we go backwards? Looking back, I wish I had paused and said, no. I'll call them again and make this clear. Lynn and I sleep in the same bed because we are a family. If that's a problem, we'll get a hotel or we won't come. Lynn would have agreed, but I didn't. I let the unease of old patterns take over. At the house, the past suddenly pressed hard against me in the present. It didn't take long. The same rooms where I had once felt unwanted and abused closed in around me. As Lynn spoke with my mother in the living room, the unease rose until I could hardly sit still. Without thinking, I crossed the room, slid past the bar stools, stepped behind her, and wrapped my arms around her waist. It wasn't calculated. It was instinct, my body's wordless act of reaching for the safety she gave me. I thought back to earlier my mother had reached out to touch my hand, and without thinking I recoiled. It wasn't calculated. It was reflex, the same way you'd pull away from a snake in the grass. I didn't mean to hurt her, but her touch startled me, brought no comfort, and she noticed. The tragic reality was that what she meant as support only revealed the distance between us. With Lynn, it was the opposite. I could move toward her silently, even come up behind her, and she never flinched. She welcomed it. My presence steadied her as hers steadied me. Around Lynn, I was calm. Around my mother, I braced for impact. And that difference was visible. My mother saw the embrace, the welcome, the ease between Lynn and me, neither of us recoiling from the other. It must have been impossible to miss, and that witnessing was poignant despite its tragedy. And it worked. The tension eased, the weight lifted. With her body close to mine, the house lost its power. What had felt suffocating only moments before became bearable. For once in that place I felt peace. Lynn welcomed it, as she always did, never shying away from public affection. That embrace was my silent declaration. This is my family now. She is my anchor. And in that moment, I felt something beyond ordinary closeness. My parents and grandparents must have loved each other once, but I had never seen it shown like this. What Lynn and I shared seemed to surpass even what weddings were meant to consecrate. Holding her in that house, I felt a presence larger than either of us, a reverence, almost liturgical. It was awe, the kind religion tries to summon in stained glass and incense, yet here it was alive in us. To our friends, I could have said it plainly. We're more than engaged. We're already married in every way that matters, and they would have understood. We weren't pretending. We were living it, tenderly, honestly, with love. Even without a wedding, we were a family.